Hi guys, welcome to Cow Corner Cricket Cast. I'm your host Pratham, and today I'll be discussing the first ODI between England and Pakistan at Cardiff. And I just knew it. I knew they would do this. Only a Pakistani cricket team could go from winning 10 of their last 12 ODI matches to being hammered by an England B team, assembled at the last minute. Absolutely knew it. Every other country in the world, including the likes of Bangladesh and Zimbabwe, who are nowhere near as good of an ODI side as this Pakistani lineup is, would at least play more competitively. Don't get me wrong, they'd probably not survive Mahmood's accurate and rapid spells on this pitch either. That's played pretty inconsistent, to be honest. If they were put into bat either, and they'd probably get crushed in a chase from the likes of Milan too. But at least they'd put out a century partnership somewhere or take a couple of wickets while defending the total. Maybe somebody would get a 50. Heck, Sri Lanka put up a bigger total in all of their 3 matches when they faced England here, and they were facing a full-strength team. Like, guys, this English team has 5 players making their debut. 5. Literally everyone else, barring Vince and Stokes, has played less than 5 ODIs for them. And Vince has been in and out of the team. I couldn't even get my preview out. Because literally, as I was about to drop the video, a couple of days back, the swap squad got announced, and basically all my predictions went out of the window. Except for one. Having been a fan of Pakistani cricket over the years, and knowing that Pakistan are the masters of mercurialness, that I'm always so fascinated and frustrated to watch, I was certain that they would somehow conspire to lose a seemingly unlosable match. I must admit, though, that even I didn't expect the sheer shellacking that the Pakistani cricketers got this time around. Which, by the way, is, for the record, the largest inflicted by any English team against Pakistan ever in ODIs. They were admittedly disadvantaged by the toss, which England did win on a dicey Sophia Garden surface and immediately inserted Pakistan to bat on. Even though Cardiff has historically been known for its slow and low and flat pitches upon which batsmen have been able to occupy a lot of time without getting out. Think of that tail end of Panesar versus Anderson stand in 2009 that batted over 12 overs to save the first Ashes test against the Aussies. The curator has clearly changed their preparation for this wicket, this season at least. Like the track dished out to Sri Lanka for a T20 match a couple of weeks ago, right? This Cardiff pitch had uneven pace and variable vertical movement. I saw some deliveries from the medium paces in this English bowling lineup. Gregory, Lewis Gregory that is, and Craig Overton. Bowling around 78, 80 miles an hour, rear up really quickly from the surface, while bowlers 10 miles per hour faster in Mahmood and Kars, some of their deliveries were sluggishly reaching the keeper from the same length. Combined with the early morning moisture in the wicket so common across English ODI surfaces of late, this made batting pretty tough for Pakistan's batsmen. Just how tough it would be for the visitors was emphasized early on from Saqib Mahmood. In a rhythmic new ball spell, he struck twice within the first 3 balls of the innings to dismiss the best batsman in this Pakistani batting lineup. From over the wicket, he got one to shape back and slightly to trap Imam ul Haq first ball, who played across the line and got judged LBW. And then merely 2 balls later, Babar got an absolute jaffa of a leg cutter around 4th stump that he had to play at. Got the edge and got behind. At 0 for 2 at that stage, Pakistan looked seriously in trouble, with the main men at the top of the order being dismantled. This is a very top-heavy batting lineup, and if they're openers and get out, pretty much usually Pakistan's losing that match 9 times out of 10. Rizwan then came to the crease, and Rizwan, I believe, actually is the best wicketkeeper batsman in the world at Tests and T20s, and I think that his off-form in ODIs lately has largely been down to him not being utilized as opener in the format like he is in T20 internationals. So this situation where he'd effectively be opening the innings, I thought would have been a good opportunity for him to turn things around. And along with a sedate Fakhar Zaman at one end, he did actually attempt to kickstart the innings, right? He hit that glorious lunging cover drive off Mahmood in the pursuit and looked to take him on. But then Mahmood got the ball to seam away and jagged back sharply to get him edging both sides of the bat and got him unsettled. And then Lewis Gregory, his opening partner, produced an brilliant peach of an outswinger that Rizwan nicked behind to the keeper, 17 for 3 at that point, and to be honest, the match was essentially over. The bulk of Pakistan's batting at that point had been broken, with only a visibly shackled and struggling Zaman, the recognizable batsman, left to anchor and salvage something out of the innings. To his credit, he did dig in for a little bit, right? And he even played some solid forward-footed pulls and off drives that went for 4. But as with most Fakhar Zaman innings I've ever seen, his strike rotation was pathetic, which meant that he continued to play slowly at under a strike rate of 80 despite hitting those plenty boundaries, and he put pressure on his partners batting on the other end, right? His terrible running and calling of singles in particular to the non-striker caused Saqib Mahmood, who had been timing the ball sweetly up to that point, including smashing a Jasurya like 6 over square point. It was a cut that was arguably the shot of the day. Brilliant to watch. But he ran him out, basically, off a really crap call. And then when he got out at 90 for 6 to a filthy long hop from leg spinner Parkinson, it sort of signaled the end of Pakistan even remotely approaching a reasonable total. Their all-rounders Fahim Ashraf and Shadab Khan didn't really help their cause either, with well-directed short-pitch bowling ending both of their batting stints briefly. While Ashraf shot a slash-out outside off stump was still excusable, given that Mahmood had been exploiting that wide of the crease angle to get one that lifted snake back to threaten him, Shadab's wicket was a truly daft dismissal. He pulled a slow chest-high delivery straight to deep square leg after the 2 men out of the boundary had been stationed for that exact shot. In the end, Pakistan were lucky to limp to 145 with some lusty blows from Shaheen, allowing them to even get there. After such a demoralizing third of an innings against their side, they probably expected a curb stomp. I sort of sense from Pakistan's body language that they were basically out of the game. This pitch was always going to get better in the second innings with a little bit of juice in the track that was present in the morning session, likely to dry up by the time England went out of bat. And with an exception of a fine opening spell from Shaheen Shah Afridi, who's sort of making it a habit to dismiss in his first couple of overs technically deficient opening batsmen with hard hands like Phil Salt, England were never going to be threatened. The target was never enough to apply scoreboard pressure on England's other top order players, those being David Milan and Zach Crawley. Now, both men had been going through a torrid time of sorts with the patent formats. Milan had an inconsistent series against the Lunkins in the T20s earlier this year, and Crawley was desperately searching for form after averaging an appalling 9 in tests, where he looked like an utterly undecisive bunny against left-armers swinging it back to him of the likes of Wagner. So there was a chance here, guys, but both of them were desperate to prove that they belonged into this English batting lineup, and so they delivered. They briskly put up a century stand, with both getting half centuries at a run of ball or better. Both took advantage of the surprisingly defensive field placements, set with wide gaps available on the leg side, product of having so many fielders out on the deep in that part of the ground, to push really comfortable singles off the hip. And that allowed them to punish wayward, even slightly wayward, back over the length deliveries from Hassan Ali, and then some of the fuller, floatier ones from the gentle medium pace of Fahim Ashraf. And then in the end, both stayed unbeaten as England cruised to the totally inadequate target presented by Pakistan with 28 overs to spare. For England, plenty of positives to take forward from this win. In discussion with some mates of mine, they'd used the nickname of Ben's Babes to describe the squad, thinking that this team would be totally rely on him to deliver for them to succeed. Today proved that assertion is totally unfounded. Stokes only bowled 1 over, and he didn't need a bat, with his admittedly excellent tactical nous needed in setting fields only. He demonstrated this in part really well, for the record. He had as many as 3 slips for his strike bowlers up front, as well as 1 for his leg spinner Parkinson as soon as he was introduced. He marshaled his troops pretty confidently, I should say, maintaining a positive body language even after they had dropped 3 catches off a tail-ender partnership that could have easily disturbed his bowlers' concentration. Speaking of those bowlers, all but Overton impressed me tremendously today. Mahmood continued his sparkling form from the PSL, where he was a leading wicket taker in the competition, to snare 4 cheap wickets today. I think it was 4 for 42. His bowling towards left and right-handers equally was impressive, which is really impressive to see. Normally you have a bowler who is good against left-handers, say Ishant, or somebody who's good against right-handers. It's very rare to see somebody bowling as threatening to both hands. But yeah, he was consistently bowling over 140 kilometers per hour, extracting enough movement both ways via seam, swing, or cutters to beat the middle of the batsman's bat. And he beat debutant Saqib, a guy for the record who has a fantastic FC average and is highly rated in Pakistan, for sheer skiddy pace, which his action allows him to generate effortlessly. He should become a fixture for England going forward. The same could be said for Matt Parkinson, as a matter of fact. Like England's current premier choice limiter or spinner Adil Rashid, he bowls at a fairly slow pace but generates significant tone. Furthermore, unlike Rashid, he seems to have the ability, a better ability I should say, to vary the flight of the ball in the air, although he does lack the ability from what I've seen to bowl as well if a disguised googly. He could soon become the successor to Rashid in a couple of years' time, given that the Yorkshireman is approaching 34 and is likely to retire soon. Bryden Corris was the real surprise package for me. His fast arm action with a delayed release combined with his tall height allows him to extract nip and bounce on any surface. He comes across as a better version and replacement for Liam Plunkett to me, with him consistently touching 90 miles per hour. While he didn't take any wickets today, and he does have a tendency of bowling too many half volleys from what I've seen here, he remains a fantastic prospect. For Pakistan, hard to say much in terms of positives, honestly. Apart from their meek and undisciplined batting, the strategies adopted by the captain, Babar Azam, were baffling. I think that's the way to put it. When defending an admittedly small target, he suspected David Milan had a problem against a short ball because he pulled a couple of short deliveries late. The thing is, though, that tactic doesn't make any sense. It didn't make sense at the time, it doesn't make sense now either. Because if they actually had examined Milan's career, they would have realized that he's actually best against pace and short stuff compared to most England players. That's how he made a century on the fastest pitch in the world at the Wacker, folks, the last time he toured Australia with the English party in that 2017-2018 Ashes. Him playing the short ball really is a sign that he has, so late, is actually really a sign that he has more time to play it. It clearly didn't work, and Babar's insistence to use even that strategy when Milan was comfortable and set at 30-odd showed a captaincy effort in disarray. He would have been much better if he had actually threatened Milan by bowling a foolish length to him and getting that ball to nip and seam off the wicket, which Milan is vulnerable to. I guess if pressed for positives, I'd say Saqib in his short stay showed his merit, at least as a compact player, even though his head falling over when being dismissed, LBW, is not really a good sign for his technique. With all that said, congratulations to England. Very few people, including myself, expected them to play as comprehensively as they did. For Pakistan, they'll need to go back to the drawing board and prepare hard to come back at Lords in the second ODI. As usual, I'll be watching it and will share my thoughts with you all, as well as giving you a preview on it on our channel tomorrow. So stay tuned for that, and take care. Good night.